Anthems of War, a skirmish fantasy miniature war game by Sentient Robot. This just dropped this month. Brand new title. They were kind enough to send me this advanced review copy, and I haven't really done a review yet because I'm still learning how to play. This is the second video in our series, and I want to show you. Look at these great photographs. Man, such a good-looking book. It's kind of hard to believe this is independent. In fact, look at this. Look at this. You see this? I got that figure. We'll get her focused a little better. That one at least is a Splintered Light figure, and he's just like me. Anyway, we're going to be doing one of the actual scenarios. Now, the game does have a number of scenarios in it, and not just your standard. I mean, it does have your standard skirmish, right? Line them up, run at each other, and bash each other on the head. Always a classic. Take and hold. Escort missions. These are not video games. Escort missions can be fun. Today, we're going to be doing Artifact Hunt. We're going to have 3 objectives in the center of the table. And I am, because I'm a solo wargamer, I am going to be dropping down 3 markers, 3 little icons. Of course, I'll be placing them face down. And the 2 that have the little face are going to be nothing. And whoever finds the happy face and gets it off their table will score bonus points. It's 75 points if you're holding it at the end of 6 game turns. Remember, that is 12 rounds. Each side will get 6 turns to play. If you're holding it, you get a bonus of 75 points. If you get it off the table, it's worth 150. Otherwise, every figure you knock out is worth the points cost of that figure. Now, before we look at the figures, let me just say, my first quick start, this game is a little bit different. The activation system is a little, not wonky, but it's just a little bit different. And there's a lot of subtleties that require you to really adhere to the action-reaction system. I did something wrong. I thought that to use a reaction was an order, and you had to spend an order to do that. That's not true. Anytime your figure is targeted, you get a free reaction, although figures can only have 1 reaction per turn. So we tried a little quick start game, a little 5-on-5, and it worked out really well, but it wasn't quite right. Today, we're going to do a little better. Same as always, make your mistakes early, make them often, learn from them, and then one day you too can be a master of war games like Mr. Wargaming. Hey, let's take a look at these figures. On this side, we have our human force, led by a leader with medium armor. That gives him a -1 on his dexterity, but a total armor of 5. He is carrying a 2-handed weapon. Now, the 2-handed weapon has a speed of 1 and a strength of 7. When you roll a natural 20 on an attack roll, it counts as 2 successes. This old boy with a greatsword, it counts as 3 successes. It forces your opponent to make 3 armor checks if he wants to survive. He is backed up by 2 heavy foot wearing heavy armor, carrying swords and shields. We've got 2 archers. They are holding longbows. They have a range of 9 inches. And then we've got 5 militia guys way over here on the right. We'll go over all of their stats throughout the course of the game. You'll figure it out. You know, you've been around the block, the Wargaming block a few times, right? Militia, not quite as good, not quite as well trained, not quite as armored. In fact, I don't think they have any armor. But they do have spears. Now, those spears do not have reach. They have to be in base-to-base contact, unlike their foes, who we'll see in a moment. Today, we are going to be using morale checks. Once half of your force's point cost. Both of these forces are 300 points. Once you lose 150 points worth of dudes, which is basically 5 guys, depending on how many. I think these guys are worth about 40. So 3 of these guys and then 1 or 2 of these, or if we lose all 5 of these guys, they're worth like, I don't know, 15 points or something. So, you know, all 5 of these and 1 or 2 of these guys, we're going to kind of play it by ear, but about half of your force, you got to start making morale checks. Now, it's a D20 system, and you need a 12 or better to pass, but you add your physique, your dexterity, your mind stats. In other words, our boss man here, he's got a physique of 4, dexterity of 2, and a mind of 0. He's going to be adding 6 to his... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's physique, dexterity, and constitution. So constitution or mind? I'm going to have to double check that. You add those to your die roll. So he's going to be willing to stick around. These guys have a physique of 2, so they're only going to get a bonus of 2 to this. Yeah, it's mind. That's what it is. So he gets a bonus of 6 on his roll. He only needs a 6 to beat it. These guys need a 10. They're going to go... They're speed bumps at best. The opposition force consists of elves. Not quite as many, but a little more variety in these guys. Our leader here is called the Blade Singer. Now, my figure doesn't have a blade, but I wanted to convey the fact that he is absolutely a spellmaster. He is a level 2. He's got a mind stat of 2. And that means he can cast first and second level spells. To cast a spell, you just make a spell check. On an 11 or better, add your mind. And on an 11 or better, you get a success. Level 1 spells take 1 success. Level 2 spells take 2 successes. You can carry those over from one turn to the next, meaning he can move and cast and get a success. And then on the next turn, he can move and cast, and on a second success, he will be getting off that second level spell, which of course they're way more powerful. The game does have third and fourth level spells in it as well. The game actually refers to them as circles, but we know what they are. As far as the guys backing them up goes, we've got a couple of guys with pikes. That's these guys on the end. 2 pikes. Those do have a reach of 1 inch. They're just as powerful as spears, but that 1 inch reach might make a big difference. We've got a couple of archers, same stats as their opposition. The humans and the elvish archers are about the same. They have a strength of 5, 9 inch range. And then we've got 2 elves with swords. They do not have shields. And then we've got 2 with great swords. So same thing, very strong. On a natural 20, they're going to do 3 hits worth of damage. And then our leader is just carrying a sword. He has no armor. The best armor we have here is our great swordsmen, who are wearing medium armor. And then our spearmen, our pikemen over here on the side are wearing light armor, and that's it. Our bowmen on both of these sides aren't wearing armor at all. So they do not get to make an armor check, which might be a mistake. Let's take a look at the terrain. As you can see, we are back in the desert. Now, difficult terrain works a little bit different in this game. I will point out that we are going to treat all of the fixed terrain, the trees and the rocks, as basically hard cover. Can't pass through them, block line of sight. Everything else you see on the table, including the buildings, is going to be classed as difficult terrain. This is the only piece of difficult terrain that you can see through, or we'll use actual line of sight for the trees. But the buildings obviously block line of sight, as do the dunes. They block line of sight along the half mark. So in other words, these guys can only see this half of this dune. Everything beyond is blocked. Now, difficult terrain, and we're going to treat the buildings as difficult terrain. When your figure moves to difficult terrain, like let's say we go to this quicksand, provided to us by our good friends over at the channel Attention Span Labs. Go give them a follow today. He's moved up to here using 4 inches of his movement. He has 4 inches remaining. He will make a dexterity check. He will roll a d20, add his dexterity, and on a result of a 0 to 5, he will be slowed by 75% for the remainder of his move. In other words, he can only move 1 inch this turn. On a 6 through 10, he's slowed by half. 11 through 15, he's slowed by 25%, meaning 3 inches. And of course, on a 16 or up, he is not slowed at all. So a little bit of variable movement makes moving through this risky, but maybe worth the risk. It's a different way of handling rough terrain, but I think I kind of like it. With all of that out of the way, I should point out that we've got 2 very different strategies for our 2 forces. The elves have broken up into 3 different strike teams. I did make a leadership roll to decide who gets to pick which corner they want to start in first. These guys selected, or the humans won and selected the southeast corner as we look at it. A little more open sight lines for their archers, forcing these guys into the corner. The elves have 3 strike teams. One is going to go after each of the 3 artifacts. And you can see they have a spear, bow, and a swordsman. On this strike team has a spear, a bow, and a great sword. And the guys with the leader here, starting off up on top of the hill, they have a swordman and a great swordman. For their part, our humans have 2 strike teams. They're going to focus on the center and the right-hand artifacts. Go after the 2, hard and heavy. Hope that one of those is the artifact and they can bring overwhelming numbers to bear. As you can see, we've got 2 archers, a sword and shield, and a great sword and a spearman down here. We've got our other 4 militia along with a leader and 1 more heavy foot up here. The next order of business is going to be determining who gets to take the first turn. Actually, let's check the scenario rules on that one. Using the rules as written, we're big fans of doing that. Whoever chooses the deployment zone passes the decision as to whether to go first or second over to their opponent. Well, the elves are going to take the first actions. Since this is the first turn, I went ahead and moved both of our flanking forces 8 inches. There's no possibility of a reaction. They're out of range of everybody, but we do need to move the guys up on the hill. And to do that, because they started in rough going, we have to find out how far they can move. They're all going to try to move 3 inches to this point up here. They're heading straight for this potential artifact, but because they are in rough going, they're going to be slowed somewhat. That was kind of part of the plan. Our leader has a dexterity of 1, so we'll find out how far he moves. We roll the d20, and on a result of a 17, he can move the full 8 inches, which he will. He'll move up to here. Then our great swordman has a dexterity of 2. He's going to need a, on a result of an 8, he's going to be slowed by half, so he's only going to be able to move 4 inches. And then our swordsman has a dexterity of 2 as well. He is going to roll a 4, add your dexterity 6. He is also going to be slowed by half, so 4 inches to there. And I think that's probably a pretty good result for these guys. They will be able to reposition these 2 fellas if need be. And then I went ahead and downloaded from the game's website, anthemsofwar.com, this sheet. I cut it off. It's actually got 9 of these little rosters on it. This is how I'm tracking my guys. Down here is a very useful thing. Our armor check, we get a plus nothing for our leader. We get a plus 5 for our great swordsman. And then this is what you need to hit with your primary weapon, or your bonus. Remember, your target number is, oh no, that's the strength actually. The target number is 12 plus your physique, which for most of the melee guys is 3, so you're hitting on 9s. Let's take a look. That's the end of their turn. Let's take a look at how the humans decide to advance. In Anthems of War, you get 1 order for every regular figure you've got on the table. We're going to use our first 6 orders to advance each of these fellas up 8 inches. The intriguing thing about this rule set is that you don't need to spend 1 order for every figure on the table. Each figure can take up to 3 actions. In my last video I said you can spend them all on the same guy. Nope, 3 orders per turn is the max. I'm going to go ahead and use, now in order to search for an artifact, we've got one back here, you have to use a long action. You get 2 actions per turn. Everybody has moved twice so far. What I'm going to do is order my militia to serve as a blocking force. 8 inches will get this spear guy up here, and we'll put another one right there, and then we'll swing these 2 guys around to here. And oh, you know what? I'm going to leave one guy back here with my leader, and I'm going to bring this guy up to right here. In fact, maybe what I should do, well, that's good right there. So there are our 10 orders for the humans. That is the end of turn number 2. Play now kicks over, and things are going to start getting very interesting. We're going to start by issuing an order to our archer. He can move 4 inches to here, and then he can take a shot at this militiaman. Now that militiaman, he has clear line of sight. He is within 9 inches, and it's going to be a simple attack roll. With a result of a 17 plus his dexterity, that is a 20. It's not a critical hit, but he does manage to hit this guy who has very poor armor. Our militia boys have no bonus to their armor. They need a 9 or better to withstand. Well, oh, I'm sorry, before I roll that die, he can take 1 reaction. He's going to try to dodge first. And with a result of a 9 plus his dexterity of 0, he fails to dodge, so he does need to make his armor check. And with a result of a 12, that will be a failure. Your armor check, you need to beat a 9 plus the strength of the weapon. The arrow has a strength of 5. He needed to roll a 14 in order to succeed. Our first blood of the day. And the elves have taken a slight lead in the game. The next thing we're going to do is issue a full move on this guy, 1. And another move here, 2. And that's going to be 2 orders for the flat-out run. Oh, you know, I come to think of it, that guy ran. There should have been a -2 to that roll. So the 12 becomes... the hit was... I don't remember what the hit was. But we got to remember, when figures run, they are considered to be running in a serpentine fashion and dodging as they go. There is a -2 to hit them. We'll give it to them. We're learning as we go, guys. We still have 4 actions left to go. And our 2 boys that got to the center are within 2 inches of the artifact. Let's pull back just a little bit so we can see that. So we have two guys that can each take a full action to determine whether they find the artifact or not. Well, hey, that's automatic. Let's go ahead and spend another order for the automatic search. And we have... It's anybody's game. Now we can reposition. He's taken 2 orders so far. We're going to bring up some help. We'll spend 1 order running this guy up to here. We're going to bring... then I've got 2 orders left. Nobody can really react. We really need to get in and start scrapping on this side. They're about to find that artifact and probably try to get away. So that being the case, I think with these 2 guys, let's go ahead and run them to here and here. What that does is it allows us to engage in some hot pursuit, catching that artifact. And that's going to be the end of the elves' turn. Now we are on to the humans' turn. Here are our 8 remaining actions. After we advance our archers, they're going to run 8 inches to here, trying to get a line of sight on this artifact over here. These guys are currently 12 inches away. We could use 2 more actions. In fact, let's do that. To advance each of these guys up. Ba-doom, ba-doom. So we got 2 guys who have used their move action. For their second action, these guys are going to take pot shots, and I'm just going to do them both at the same time, red and blue. They have a dexterity of 3, firing, they're within 9 inches, we're fine. They need a 9 or better in order to hit. This guy right here, this human, does manage to score a hit against this elf. That elf decides he wants to attempt to dodge. Now that elf, as a sword elf, has a dexterity of 2. In order to be successful, he needs to roll a 10. He rolls a 9, he is unsuccessful, so we move on to the armor check. And as a guy with a sword, he's got an armor of 2. For an armor check, you need to get 9 plus the weapon strength. Add your dexterity, or subtract your dexterity from that. So weapon strength of 5. Subtract the dexterity. And remember, he ran. Oh, he ran too. Was that still a hit? Well, we forgot about it up there. We might have forgotten about it down here. I'm not going to worry about it. So the ultimate number is going to be 14. 9 plus the strength of 5, and then subtract the dexterity of 2. So the number we're looking for is a 12. And we don't get it. So this guy, this elf swordman, goes down. The reason we did that is even with a successful dodge action, remember this guy missed, but with a successful dodge action, he has to move back and away from these guys, which complicates things further for him. That's all we want to do down here. Let's go take a look at that artifact on the north side. Our first order will be, now we've got we should have 6 more orders. We're going to spend the first one to search. And it's the happy face. Our boy found the loot. That is both of his actions. We're going to spend another action to make a double move, as you might expect. That is an 8-inch move back towards the baseline. And that's going to be over to here. That is his second action, and we can use our third action to make another double move, which is not enough to get him off the table, but it is pretty close. And that is his third action. That's going to be the last thing that he is capable of doing. Now we need to think about how we're going to deal with these knife ears on the table. With 4 actions left, we really need to start knocking down some of these knife ears. To that end, we're going to go with this play up here. Militia are not terribly strong. He is 4 inches away. That costs 1 order. He is a weapon speed of 2. He's going to get to roll 2 dice. For his part, the archer has to choose between counterattacking and blocking. The archer has a dexterity of 4 and a physique of 1. In order to successfully counterattack, he's going to have to roll an 11. In order to successfully block, he rolls an 11. The difference is if he blocks, he won't take any damage. And that's, I think, the smart play here. So the militiaman with a physique of 2, he gets to roll 2 dice. He is the active player, and he needs a 10 or better to hit. He rolls a 12 and a 12 and scores 2 hits. And now it looks even smarter that our elf decided to block, because he rolls a result of a 7, adds his dexterity of physique of an 8, that is a failure, which means he now has to take 2 armor checks. He has light armor. He needs to roll a 12. Wait, let's get the math right. The spear has a strength of 5. That means the difficulty number is 14. It's 9 plus the strength. Our elf is wearing an armor of 2, and he has a dexterity of 1. So we subtract 3 from that roll. That means we need to score a... it's a 14 to succeed, minus the 3, so we need 11. And the 17, however you cut it, is a failure. The archer goes down. After checking the numbers, the archer has a dexterity of 4, but he's not wearing any armor. That's why he went down so quickly against a mere militiaman. Now, I don't want to send this militiaman against this elven great swordsman because these guys are really tough. Instead, what I want to do with my last 3 orders is move some guys into position where we're forcing fights that our elves don't want to have. And that means we're going to bring one of these guys up to here. Let's bring our leader up to here. And then we'll bring our... We're going to bring one of our heavy hitters up to there. And I think... You know what we could do? Why don't we... So our archer is facing the wrong way. Facing does matter. We're going to have to bring him... We got one more move in hand. Let's bring this fella down here. And I think we'll call it quits. We are now on to turn number 5. The elves replenish all of their orders. They can now take a total of 9 actions. I want to know what spells can do. And I want to take out the high-value target. That's the leader here. The Elvish Blade Singer is going to hit him with... Let's check range first. He's 8 inches away. He's going to hit him with a spell called... like Acid Arrow. And the way this works... He's got a mind of 2. Because he is using a long action, he rolls 1 die for each of his mind points. And he scores a success on an 11 or better. He scores 2 successes, allowing him to cast that level 2 spell. Kablam! He hits our boss man with the Acid Arrow. No dodge, no block. I don't think you can react except as a counter spell, which is where the power comes in. He has a 1 in 4 chance of getting that spell off. He did. It is a strength 5 hit. We go straight to the armor check, and fortunately for our human leader, he is wearing medium armor, meaning he is at +5. We will give him the benefit of the dexterity, +7. So all told, for the... Oh, but he is at -1 on his dexterity because of the extra armor. So all told, we're looking at a bonus of 6 to his die roll, and he is trying to beat a score of... So it's a strength 5. So he's trying to beat a score of 14, but he's got +6, so he needs an 8 or better. With a 13, he survives to fight another day. That does cost the first of the Elvish actions. Then we go to... Let's take out this spearman. We're going to move to contact. We're going to make an attack roll with our great sword. Now, the great sword... He's a two-handed guy. Let's take a look at him. He's a good-looking figure. These come from around parts of Europe. Most of the figures on the table today are from the Warband line. I think these figures were all originally part of the Demon World line, but I could be wrong on that. Now, he's going to get to roll 2 dice. Our spearman does not... I don't think he has a shield, does he? He does not. He's going to go ahead and counterattack with the blue die, and we get a critical hit for a total... Now, see, that normally would be 2 successes, but because of the greatsword, it counts as 3 successes. We probably should have tried to dodge and cancel one of those out. The result of a 6 is a failure. Our great swordsman only needs to roll a 9 to hit. Yep. But he got a total of 3 hits, so our militiaman has to make 3 armor checks. You know, if I push this against the wall, I never have to worry about that again. We got to make 3 armor checks. And he is only wearing light armor. With a 14, he has a success. With an 11, I know that's pretty close. And with a 6, he's a failure. He only needs 1 failure, so he is a failure. Relatable. That is the second order of the... So we did 1 order for the spell, 1 order for the attack. We still have 7 remaining. Let's go ahead and... We're going to bring our pikemen over. And he is going to attack at range. I'm assuming because he's 1 inch away, I'll have to double check the rules on this, that our boss man only has the option of blocking, which is not great for him. Our spearman does have the 2 weapon speed of 2. Our boss man is going to go ahead and wield the block. Let's see what happens. But before we do, let's run the numbers. Our spearman is going to be successful on 9s, and our boss is going to be able to block on... he's wearing medium armor. Well, let's just roll and see what happens. It might not matter. Successful on 9s, he gets 1 hit, and our boss man needs a 12 in order to block. Block uses your physique skill. This is a 14. It blocks the 1 hit that would have resulted from here, and that's going to be the end of that action. We are going to then move this great swordman over to here to attack this guy. And it's going to be the same thing. Now, this time, this guy is going to exercise his block option. He fails miserably. However, there are no hits on that part, on his part, so we'll try it again. We're going to issue another order. This is the second order of the day for him. He gets a 2 and a 20 for 2 hits. Our block succeeds in blocking 1 of those, but our militiaman still has to make 1 armor check. With a result of a 6, that will be a failure. Our militiaman is carrying no armor. So we've eliminated 3 of those guys so far. And then we can go ahead and use our last action. Let's close with this guy, and we'll do the same thing. Now, this guy has a sword. He's a little bit tougher cookie. We're going to go ahead and counterattack our great swordsman. Our great swordsman is going to score 1 hit. The 7 is a miss, and the 2 is a miss. So the only guy that gets hit is our human, who has to make 1 armor check. And with a result of a 9... Well, let's look at this. The great sword has a strength of 7, so that is a total of 16 is the target number. Our swordsman rolled a 9 plus his dexterity of 1 becomes 10 plus his armor of... Oh, he's wearing heavy armor, isn't he? We had a total of 7 to this. That's a result of a 16. He is unharmed. Boy, how about that, huh? We still have 3 left to go. All right. That being the case, we are going to bring this spearman up with a double move, trying to hit one of these archers. Because he is charging this archer here on the top of the screen, this is the only archer that can react. That archer will take a shot at the guy as he approaches, and that shot is going to be an 18. That will be successful. And he will then... Should we dodge or should we just take it? Let's dodge. With a result of a 4, the dodge is a failure, so we have to roll an armor check. With a result of a 5, now normally it's going to be... we need a 14. He does not... What kind of armor is he wearing? He's wearing light armor. He actually goes down to the arrow bolt, and we only have now 2 actions left over. We'll go ahead and use this archer. He's standing just inside the woods. I think you can just barely see him. Kind of shift the woods there. There you can see his cloak right there. He's going to go ahead and take an aimed shot at this guy. And this guy will then try to dodge in that direction. The aim shot, boy, that's a whole lot of failures. That is the first one. And then the second one, we're going to roll likewise. So we get a result of... he needs 8s to hit. So he gets 1 hit. And our fella here dodges, and he is going to be able to dodge 2 inches into cover, which is essentially in this direction. Well, into cover puts him right here. If there was no cover within 2 inches, I guess you could dodge over here as well. You have to dodge away from the active shooter. That's going to be the end of turn number 7. We are on turn number 8. Or round number 4, if you prefer. And it turns out the game was over on the last turn. The game ends as soon as the artifact returns to somebody's deployment zone. The deployment zone is right about here at 6 inches from the corner. However, I do not regret playing one superfluous turn because I really wanted to see how magic and everything else worked. So on this turn, he's already in the deployment zone. We're going to call it quits right here. Here is our graveyard. As we tally up the points, you get 1 point for every figures, basically the point cost of the figure. The humans were able to score about 100 points on, these guys are each like 30 to 35 points, the elves. So the humans scored about 90 points, maybe 100 points on the casualty mark, plus another 150 bonus for escaping with the artifact. That's 250 points. For their part, the elves were only able to kill 3 15-point figures. 250 to 45 points. That is a pretty thorough drubbing of the knife ears by the Roman Empire. You love to see it. We're getting better at the game. I think it flowed a lot faster for sure when you don't have to save actions for reactions. We probably missed a few reactions in there, here and there, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm a solo wargamer. If you were to play this game as a 2-player game, you'd slow down. This 300-point fight would probably wind up taking you about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and you would be referring to the rulebook a heck of a lot more than I did in this one. But I think you could get a really good idea for how the game flows, how the game plays, and how it is just different enough from the usual that you probably want to give it a look. Again, Sentient Robot, thanks if you are watching this. I saw they scooped me, by the way. I thought I was going to publish the very first ever Anthems of War video, and then they beat me by like 2 days last week. So, I'll get you next time, Gadget. And until next time, remember, guys, I'm praying for you.